Hello, everybody. And today we have another episode that I didn't practice. Ahmed, Ahmed.
You're
name.
getting better. You're getting there. Ahmad.
This is like a ritual,
Yeah,
but
you have to keep practicing. You gotta learn my
I
name
have
right.
I have to keep practicing. I only
I can say
practice
your name,
on
Manuel
camera.
Post.
Manuel was exactly.
Yeah. First,
I'll
we'll
give
start
it to
with my
you.
first name, then we'll get to my second name. My last name is even more complicated. My first name is already enough of a challenge.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'll give the microphone to you. You can introduce your subject.
Right, right. So Manuel and I were having a nice topic about how spirits guide us before we started the recording. He talked about meditation and he talked about prayer and how do you know that things are coming from God or from the Holy Spirit, or how do you know it's not coming from you, from your fantasies, from your ego? And this is a big topic for me because I would love to know that as well. And I've been really reflecting a lot on revelation, trying to link it with stuff from meditation, stuff from insight, stuff from prayer and poetry, lectio divina, mostly lectio divina, and Platonism forms the through line. And I think the revelation is tightly connected to through lines, but correct me if I'm wrong. So I don't think I have had too many revelations in my life, but I know that there is a straight line, or rather a line that links between. So revelation is that moment when you manage to jump out of your ego into another. That moment when you manage to jump out of your ego into another. So or it's at least that's the start of revelation. It's the place where you're susceptible to revelation. So, for example, when you're challenging me with something I don't like, the capacity to accept that and that, recognize whether or not this is just egoic or whether I'm, for example, coming from authority. This is the starting point of revelation. And when I have the capacity to listen to you, to what you're saying, without the distortion of the ego, and integrate that, that's a higher step in revelation. And an even higher step is when I'm starting to recognize, for example, with that you're saying things, it's corresponding to a through line, and I'm able to track that. I'm able to keep keep touch with this mystery, this inexhaustible spirit that you're talking about, and constantly recognize that, okay, this fits, this doesn't, this fits, this doesn't. And yeah, that's most of what I have to say about it for now. I mean, this is my starting point, at least, that this is the direction you need, the place you need to put yourself to reach revelation. It involves a lot of questioning, a lot of asking yourself, where is this idea coming from? Is this egoic? Is it not egoic? You won't have the answer, but you need to ask the question. And at some point, you develop the skill of recognizing that, okay, I am onto something right now. And whatever it is that I'm receiving, it corresponds to the thing before it, and the thing before it, and the thing before it.
Hmm. Okay. I'm I'm uh, I'm wondering how to engage with this, but I think I want to start drawing an image because I
Mm-hmm.
talked with Mark about this a bunch of times, and it's like a pond,
Mm-hmm.
and in the pond there's stones, and they form a path, and there's a fog on the pond, and some people they can just see the whole pond, or a lot of the pond. Some people they can see a little bit in front of them. Some people they can see the next stone, and some people can't even see the next stone. And now you can imagine the perspective, right? of the person that can't see the next stone. Like
Can't or
they
can?
cannot,
Cannot.
right? They're completely in the dark.
Yeah.
And then when you say go that way, they're like, there's no way to go. So the only way that they can go there is by complete faith,
Yeah.
right? And then you have the people that can see the stone or part of the stone. And then they're like, well, should I go on that stone? Is that stone better than the stone that I'm at? Right? And like that's a hard question. It's like and it's like maybe there's two stones that you can see. Like should you go take the left stone or the right stone? Like how do you decide? And this is all the people, right? Like the sciencey people, right? Like if you can't see more than one stone ahead of you, then you're stuck in like a binary frame. Like you're in a flat world because you can't relate to the complexity of the maze
Mm-hmm.
or the paths on the water.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can only relate to the direct next step that you're gonna take.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when you start getting more and more vision, right? Like now you can maybe see a patterns of the paths or directions of the stones, right? Like so now you have way more information than just that you're not going to step into the water because like that would really suck. Right? But still, right? Like and then like someone who sees most of the stones, right? Or has walked the stones a bunch of times, maybe that's a better thing than actually seeing them, right? So he can remember them. He doesn't see them, but he remembers how the stones work. And then, like, even if he gets at a different point, he's like, no, I know how the stones work. So I can have confidence, even though I might not have full vision, right? And I think that's what you were talking about with developing the intuition, right? There's a so so with this image, right? And it's like you can also talk about emotional states, right? So, like, if you're just standing in the fog on your stone, that's a fearful state, right? And then when you can only take one step, that's a dependent state, right? Because you need guidance. Like you cannot you can move, right? Like there's plenty of people who
Mm-hmm.
move one step at a time, but they're just wandering around in circles because like there's nothing to guide them
Mm-hmm.
to the right place. And they're also like, well, in some sense they're probably excited. It's like, oh, there's another step. But on the other hand, like they're also completely lost, right? Like that's also not a good place to be.
Mm-hmm.
And like people have that in themselves, right? Like maybe not present to their mind, but that's behind their actions, right? Like that's motivating them. Like that's just the state that they're in. And you can also imagine, depending on your cognitive capacity, right? Like if you take one step three times, do you remember where you came from? Right? Because if you
Mm-hmm.
don't remember where you came from, like how like you think you know a path, but you don't, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like you just got somewhere basically randomly
Mm-hmm.
by luck.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then you claim that as your own victory.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's maybe where I want to give it back to you.
Right. You discern between several kinds of people: the people who don't see stones in front of them, and they need to take a step. They need to take a step for the way to appear. Like Rumi says, take the first step and the way appears. And there are people who can see the stones in front of them, but which stone do I take? Which direction do I go? But there are people who can recognize the path. They know how the stuff works. They have the intuition to recognize, okay, I see the melody, and I know how this. They're like musicians, basically. Would you say that? They're like musicians because a musician
Like
can hear two
windwalkers,
notes.
right? Like they balance through.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. They're like, okay, I know exactly how to walk on this path. It's like the, I don't want to call it chi, but somehow I don't know what chi is, but I think it's close to chi to a certain sense. But I have this when I play piano. Like I just listen to a few, see a few notes being played, and I know, okay, this is which scale this is. Like I already recognize the pattern, and I can start singing along with it, and it fits the notes. So
You learned this in church, by the way.
yeah, how to sing along, right? How to sing
Hmm.
along with the music, how to recognize what you have to sing. So this is the first steps of I wouldn't call this revelation itself because I don't believe that I've had too many revelations when I was in my life, or maybe I'm being too negative with it, or
Well, I think, right? Like when you take
Mhm.
the first step, right? The fact that there's a stone at all is a revelation, right?
Yeah,
Like the stone
maybe
is
that's also
revealed to you.
that's true. That's also true. Yeah, that's absolutely true. But you need to sort of like it's not enough to see the stone. You need to make sure it's a stone
Well,
because sometimes you
depends
can see a
on your
stone.
purpose, right?
Depends on your experience also.
Like if you wanna make a river crossing, no.
Mhm.
If you wanna cross the river, like what do you care?
If it's a stone or not.
Like no, yeah, you just want it to hold you. Like if it's a turtle, like fine. Like
No, no, no. I mean, what if it's like I don't know, a leaf, something that can't hold you, or just your imagination, or something like that.
well,
That's what I
then
meant.
you find out, right?
Exactly. You find out. You leap in, you
Yeah.
fall. That's how you find out, and you need to be ready to readjust when you fall. But the point is that this capacity to recognize the patterns and then sort of test it against what you know, test it against what you already know. Like this is an important part of the revelation. So you're not just seeing the pattern, but you're also checking what you already know. It's like you said, you're looking back, looking at the path you've already taken. Because it isn't enough. It's like, yeah, the intuition part, but you also need to come back down and you need to check how the path fits to the intuition. That I'm kind of rambling right now. I'm trying to figure out what I'm thinking. Hang on,
Well,
give me a
but do
second.
you need to, right? Like I think
Sometimes you do.
I think we're
Sometimes you
getting
do.
back into a pattern here.
Sometimes you do.
Well,
Let
yeah,
me.
sometimes like there's reasons for knowing things, right? Like I'm not saying that you shouldn't know
No,
things.
but sometimes you don't. Yeah, it's like flow state. You don't need to do that.
Like that's the whole point, right? Like I was talking about my experience about our previous conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like I told you literally that like there was stuff I didn't remember. Like I didn't remember that I said it.
Mm-hmm. But there you go. Going back, put it in perspective, right?
Yeah, but also like I did it, and I could do it again, probably. Because if I could do it once, why can't I do it again?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's
So
true.
like why do I need to know?
No, no. Well, you need to know to make sure that you were on that way and
No.
not just kidding
No,
yourself.
I'm just gonna say no.
You're just gonna say no.
Yeah.
So you think there's a
I
point
don't
where you
think
could be
there's no sure.
there's no sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's confidence, but I have the confidence when I'm speaking. I also have the confidence when I hear myself speak.
Okay. I don't
Okay,
because when I'm
yeah,
speaking
well, like
now,
okay,
yes, yes, yes. Now I understand. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. No, I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you because you see it so clearly in front of you that you don't need any proof anymore,
right,
right? Yeah, 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 yeah. I've been there before. I know that because then you can defend it from authority, and then you have it on your side, and you can
right.
tackle any
Like
argument that comes your way.
like
Yeah, yeah,
people
yeah.
hate
Absolutely.
arguing with me because I got the truth on my side.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's like, yeah, you try to win an argument with me, like I'll just keep with the truth, and I always win. Like I don't have to do anything. I don't have to be smart. I like it, like
I mean,
like
you
being
become
smart is a
smart through the
bonus.
truth. You become
Well,
smart
not
through
not
it.
even right. I'm just its agent. Right? Like it's not me. It's not my smart.
Exactly. It's not you. That's the point. You're resting on solid foundations, which is
Right.
outside of the ego, beyond the ego.
Right.
And that breaking of the ego is related to a very important component of revelation, which is love or kindness.
Hmm.
Love in the sense that, not love in the sense of, well, romantic love can be a part of it, or loving your child can be a part of it, because the moment you have a child and you love a child and you're accountable towards the child, that's when your realization machinery really kicks in, and you really starts questioning, is this really good for my child? Is this
Well, you
bad for
hope
my
you
child?
hope that does.
You
Actually,
hope that it does, exactly. You hope
I
that you're
think I
ready
think there's
enough when
plenty
it
of
does.
cases where it doesn't. But yes.
Definitely plenty of cases that it doesn't. Plenty of cases where it even backfires, and
Right.
you end up overprotecting the child. But you hope that in the situation where you know how to love, that this happens. This state of
Well, I think like women have a benefit here, right? Like in two ways, right? Like they're already cyclical beings, right? So they're already subjected to their period. But also like they carry the child. They get this insane hormonal craziness happening during pregnancy and after pregnancy that men don't have, right? So they get it imposed. Like
Mhm.
men have to do that by themselves, kind of.
Mm.
Like women can help them, but also like it's different from men. Like
Mhm.
it's and yeah, like I think a man is lacking in that sense, right? Like they're not dragged out of themselves. Well, they are dragged out of themselves by their interest, right? Like they're like, ooh, mechanical thing, right? Like they just,
Eros.
but but they're not dragged out of themselves socially. Like that takes more effort for men than for women.
Towards persons. Towards
Right.
persons, they're not as dragged by women as by women.
Towards things of quality. Like men are not
Towards things.
attracted by quality as much. They're quantitative. Like they're scientific more in their
They're more
approach to the world.
scientific. They're not feeling, they're thinking.
Right. They're cognitively
They're
related.
cognitive. They're not in touch with themselves. They're more in touch with the material aspect. Whereas women, there's a saying by the Prophet that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that I don't know if it's a real saying. I just read it randomly in Rumi, and I'm not sure if I interpret it correctly. The idea is that good men are very sensitive to women,
Hmm.
that they let women sort of not boss them around, but they're sort of rely on women for such things like spiritual insights and stuff like that. This is my understanding, my humble understanding of what Rumi said.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
women know what's up, right? Like they
Women
know
know
what
what's up. Yeah,
they
they do.
they know what needs caring for. Like
Yes.
they might not
And
know how to do that part, but like they know.
exactly, exactly. They're put in a place of necessity, right?
Hmm.
Because they're put in a place where they're programmed to think, okay, we're vulnerable. I need to do what's good for me right now. It's like, is this guy good for me? And you have no choice but to really figure out if this person's good for you. And then the
Yeah.
relevance realization machinery is already kicked into, imposed
Yes.
into that state where revelation is much more readily available to them
Yes. So
than
they,
it is
they
to
kind
us.
of have a cheat into that, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
then they they lack in the structuring part, right? Like so they
Exactly, which is why I think acts of kindness or fasting or putting yourself intentionally through difficulty is what affords you the stuff.
right.
Like fasting 8 hours a day, or going out of your way to feed someone, to give money no matter how much it hurts, like these actions of in Islam you'd call it the struggle against the ego. I don't like the struggle against the ego very much. I think it's a bit like rejecting the ego or rejecting yourself, which I think is not
Well,
helpful.
that's the issue. Like
Yeah,
I've been running into this too, right?
it's odd.
So
Yeah,
that's the way that it's framed, and I think it's
yeah.
a bad frame.
Hmm.
So I was having this argument with this guy. Well, not really an argument, but basically we were talking about sin, right? And how we should be liberated from sin. And I'm like, no, we're not.
Hmm.
We're supposed to follow Christ, and that's what liberates us from sin.
Hmm.
Like the following is the thing that gives the liberation. We don't do the liberation, and and so like that's where everybody goes wrong. It's like,
Mm,
oh, I need to
mm,
be liberated, liberated, liberated. It's
mm,
like,
mm, mm,
no,
hmm.
like that's why you end up in hell.
That's
Like
again the
that,
self rejection. Like I need to be free from myself. I need to be out of this.
right, or even worse, right? Because that's not functional, right? Because
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
like we are not gods, and therefore
Yeah.
we can't do this, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
well established, people. We can't do this.
It should be.
And so what do you end up do? You end up making a selection, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Hmm.
okay, I'll work on this sin and this sin and this sin. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, but what about the 25 other sins, right? Like you think you're doing well with these three, and you just cleared some space for these other 25 to be stronger. Like that's never gonna work.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
you can't hold these balls in the air. Like I lived through this, right? Like in my depression, right?
Hmm.
Like I
Hmm.
I tried holding 3 or 4 balls in the air, and these were major balls, right? Like sleep, um, energy. What was the other one? Uh, I think attention or something. Well, anyway, and yeah, like I couldn't do it.
Things fell apart, right?
Yeah.
It's again this thing which you said with meditation that you keep pushing, pushing, and suddenly it snaps back all of a sudden. So like the kind of the resolution I've come to is that you just set the intention, you become aware of it, you be yourself, because like okay, let me say it differently. The ego is a set of subconscious processes that are programmed, and there's a lot in there, a lot going on at once. And as a human you do
Mm,
not have the capacity to reverse engineer it all at once while it's functioning.
yeah.
What you can do is have a time of day where you look at it, you look at what's going on, and you make it conscious, and you give it to God, let's say. In my case, I would reflect on it. I just write about it and look at it and kind of make the ego realize where it's wrong.
Hmm.
But you can't do that while you're operating it. It has to be in times when it is able to settle. Because when you're at work, like you're not stopping me now, you need me. But when you're at home, when you're doing meditation, for example, when you're doing it right, not doing it like you know, when you're doing it properly,
I'm doing it properly, okay.
we're gonna have to discuss meditation at some
The
point.
not doing it, you're not doing it properly.
I don't know if I'm doing it properly. God knows if I'm doing it properly. Or when you're journaling, for example,
Hmm.
when you're journaling and you're writing down what you're thinking and you're framing and you're noticing the framing when you're doing it.
Yeah, but that
And
like I don't think you need to do all these things
what would you do
because
in this
because
case?
if that's true, stupid people couldn't do it, right?
Good point. Let me think about that for a second. Yeah, you're absolutely true. That's true. People who can do it.
So like that can't be the answer.
It has to be someone even stupid can do. You mean?
Yes.
Okay.
Like
But why is that? Why is that? I'm interested
no,
to know why.
like for real. Like what's the ego? That's you trying to outsmart reality.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Like you see
No,
the
no, no.
problem?
Actually, that's not how I see the ego. That's not how I'm defining the
Uh,
ego, at least.
okay.
It's it definitely does that. The ego definitely tries to outsmart reality.
Hmm.
But sorry, ego is your understanding, is your mapping of reality. It's
Okay,
basically,
that's the same thing.
yeah, it's because you can't take it in all at once. It's
But you
inexhaustible.
can. That's the whole point.
Ah, you can, because I'm
Right?
operating under the point that you can't.
No, you can. Like
You
that's
can.
the whole trick. Yes, that's what fate is, right? Like you engage with
Okay.
fate, right? That like this is why relevance realization is maybe an dangerous thing, right? Because it implies a sort of relationship to it, and especially the way that Vervaeke goes into it, right? Because
Hmm.
like why would we name it? Well, because we want to control it. Duh, like that's why we name it,
Oh,
right?
okay, okay, okay. So whenever something involves naming or making it into a thing, that's immediately trying to impose control and therefore trying to become gods.
Well, yeah, kind of, right? Unless you name the animals.
Unless you name the enemy,
Animals,
animals,
like God
because we have
intends,
authority over them, right?
right?
Mm.
We also get authority over the angels eventually, but like, yeah,
But in that case, you still need to name things.
no, they name themselves. That's the whole point.
The things name themselves. No, that's true. They do name themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, that like oh, like when we're and we can go back to Revelation, right? Like
Just to make sure I'm understood, because I'm really interpreting you based on my own terms right now. When things name themselves, that's when you allow them to shine in and tell you what they are, right?
Mhm.
In term, that's when they reveal what they are, when they reveal their function, when you're listening to them outside of the ego. Is that what naming themselves is?
Right, but you could also be on a purpose, right? Like
Mhm.
Peterson talks about this, like when you're tired, like the tree stump becomes a sitting place, right? Like the tree
Mhm.
stump tells you, like it literally tells you, go sit on me, because like
It prostrates to you, bows
what?
down to you.
Why? Yeah, in some sense, yes, but
That's the Islamic poetry behind it.
yeah, I would
Yeah,
never use that
you
phrasing.
wouldn't use that.
Uh,
Okay,
no, I wouldn't.
maybe
But in
that's
some
inaccurate. They
but
bow down to God, but not to you. Yeah.
yeah, but like in some sense it does bow down to you because it offers its service to you in
Yeah.
some sense, I guess, right?
Hmm.
But but the point is you don't do that discernment. Like that discernment gets revealed somehow,
Yes, that's absolutely
right?
true.
Like and that's revelation, like literally,
Yeah. Okay.
right? So like when you walk in faith, right?
Hmm.
Like now we go back to you basically you go through the swamp, right? Stepping on stone and stepping on stone, and like there's some sensitivity of where you're going, right? Because you're not
Hmm.
like you're
Hmm.
guided by the Holy Spirit, hopefully,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And that Holy Spirit can be given to you by your shepherd, right? You can just follow your shepherd. Like you don't have to figure out that path on your own. Like there's people that walk the path before you. Like, are you stupid? Like just follow the people in front of you.
Hmm.
So yeah, and then it gets revealed. Like, do you have eyes to see? Like, do you even recognize that it's revealed to you? Like, are you grateful for the path being there? Are you honoring the path for what it's doing to you? Like like if you're not attending to the path and its relationship to you, then how do you know the path? Like, how do you know it? You don't know it. You just propositionally state path and
Mm-hmm.
claim
Mm.
ownership.
Wow. Wow. That puts a whole different vibe on the path thing. Give me a second. I need to link it to something I learned. You basically kill it when you name it. You turn it
Yes,
to an it.
you you flatten it. That's
You
that's
flatten
what
it. You flatten it.
yes.
Yeah, yeah, you flatten it. It becomes an it, no longer a thou, and a thou is what you need for the mystery that calls you out. Whereas when it's an it, it's just for me. There's no more depth. It stops.
Well, or it's just for us or whatever, right? Like
Just
like
for
it
us.
like when you itify it, it
Oof,
becomes static,
oof,
right?
oof, 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 oof.
It
Yes,
turns
yes, yes.
from a symbol into a sign,
Into a sign. It stops being a process.
right? It's like, oh, you can have a traffic sign, or you can have a symbol that is a portal into. Like this is what the propositional language is, right? Like it's relating to language as signs, not as symbols,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and that's idolatry, right? Like it's
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Especially when it becomes about control. Because
it
that's
has
when
to be
you
like that's the
miss
only thing that it can be about.
it misses the mark because it misses the mark. It literally misses the mark. It confuses the thing for the whatever's behind it. So just to see if we're on the same track with the terminology, do you agree that so there's the thing and there's the thing as sign and there's the thing as symbol, right? So there's the sign and the symbol.
Right? And then there's truth.
No, I'm just realizing that I might be trying to control something right now by telling you that. So I'm just gonna go ahead with it. So what do you think of Vervaeke's term of no thingness?
That is ridiculous.
You don't think it's ridiculous?
Yeah,
Why so?
like what like if there's no thingness, there's nothing.
No, 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 no. That's not what he means.
Yeah,
Like,
I know it's not what he means, but he's also describing something that doesn't exist. So like bad word.
okay, bad word. Then forget no thingness.
Like things have to have thingness in order for them to relate to them, or you just call them subjects, right? Like if you just say subject,
Yeah.
then I'm fine,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or thou, whatever. Like what you're literally talking about is personhood, effectively,
Yes. Yes.
right?
That's what. Yeah. Exactly. That's
You
what I
can't
wanted to
say
go
no
to.
thingness and deny the personhood,
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
because
Very
we
good
have to
point.
relate to something, right? And
Very
that's
good point.
either a thing or a person. Like there's no
Very good point. Very good point.
so like the no thingness is just science flattening stuff again.
But you agree with me that when you're relating to God, it's not you can't relate to God. You relate through God, right?
Uh, I don't think you can relate true God. Um, like that doesn't make sense. I think you always relate to God ultimately, because like anything else doesn't make any sense. Like what order is there? Where you could say, well, there's creation, and therefore it's not like God's personhood or whatever, right? Like it's like maybe, but you relate to the divine. Let's just call it that, or the the heavenly.
That yeah, you relate to the heavenly. I think this is gonna be too deep, and I don't want to go in that direction right now. Let's stick with Revelation
But like, why do you ask the question? That's the question you should ask
because I
yourself.
want to see if we're on the same page in something, and that takes me away from the topic. Um,
Okay.
Because let me see how I'm gonna say that. When you are having the revelation, when something is being revealed to you,
Hmm.
there's the melody, right? There's the notes and there's the melody, the stones and the pattern.
Okay.
And
That
the
yes.
pattern,
So I and Mark have a model for this, right? So you have
mhm,
propositional and procedural knowing.
yeah,
Propositions are the stones. The
yeah,
procedures are the steps that you can take,
okay,
right? And
yeah,
then we have participatory knowing, which
yeah,
means the walking on the stones,
yes, yes,
and the poetic knowing,
yeah,
right? Which would be the capacity to relate to the walking, which is relating to the wholeness that
wholeness, yes, yes, the wholeness,
that
exactly,
the stone is part of.
exactly, the wholeness.
Right?
That's exactly what I was wanted to get to.
Okay.
Okay, good. Let's say the wholeness then. Right, and you have to name it eventually because yeah,
No, you don't.
I mean that was
You
my
don't have
point
to
pretty
name
much.
things. Like
That
that's
that
not.
was exactly my because that's not nameable. Because as soon as you name it, you turn it to a stone.
No, you don't. You can have symbols. I have
You symbolize
symbols.
it, sure.
Right, like I can just say, "Oh, there's something there," right? Like this is why there's a reference to the stars, right? It's like,
Yeah,
"Oh, there's a constellation there." Do I know what the constellation is? No, because it's a constellation. Like I don't,
yeah,
I don't know the essence of the constellation.
exactly. There's the mystery.
Actually, I have a video that's going to be released before this about Aramaic or Syriac language, and we go into this, and like these patterns are in the language. So yeah, like you'll love it.
I'm interested. I like Aramaic. I've tried to learn it a little bit, but yeah,
There you go.
yeah. It looks like Arabic. Like if you don't know Arabic, you can't tell. You can hardly barely tell the difference between Arabic and Aramaic. There's differences, of course, but it's interesting. But anyway, yeah. So actually, the wholeness was exactly where I wanted to get at. I'm glad we're on the same page on that, at least. I mean, my concern is that I don't know right now. I think because if you think of Lectio Divina, when you're doing Lectio Divina, you're kind of going through that. You're going from the stones, which are the words. No?
Like obviously yes, because you have to,
Yeah.
right? Like it's not optional, right?
Yeah.
But also no, because like if you're if you're going through that, right? Like that implies that that's what you're doing instead of that's what's happening to you. And if you're doing it, now you're trying to organize the stones in a pattern, right? Like it's so then you're doing an egoic action like on the meta level. If that makes sense.
Yeah, of course, when you're forcing
You're
it to
trying
happen.
to read into the universe yourself.
Huh? My cognitive capacities are starting to reduce right now. By the way,
Okay,
I think I'm not gonna be able to do more than 20 minutes. I need to
okay.
go in a bit. But yeah, go on it.
Well, so this idea, right? Like this is what projection is, right?
Yeah,
Like you're looking for something, right? For example, like oh, the text says this, and then you're looking for what the text says. So what are you
yeah,
gonna find? You're gonna find yourself because you're gonna look for the thing that's already inside of you
okay.
instead of having what's in the text speak to you.
I think I'm miscommunicating big time here.
Yeah. Well, no, no but
Yeah.
yeah.
Um you're because this isn't what I meant. But I understand how you could take it this way
No,
because it
I'm
sounds
just
like
trying
I'm trying
to
to.
separate the two, right?
It sounds like I'm trying to create a method to make revelations happen.
Right.
That was a thing. I admit that, but so that's what happens when you do lectio divina. You're taking a step by faith, in faith, taking a walk in a place you don't really know, and opening space for the wholeness to appear to you.
Yeah, if you're doing it right.
Yes, if you're doing it right, exactly.
And if you can, right? Because like
Yeah,
maybe you can't. Maybe the text is too far away from you and you're just
exactly.
like
And sometimes it
on
is
your
too far away.
stone. And
Yeah,
that text says, well, there's a stone here, right? And you need to jump walk the 5,000 stones in between first before you can make that jump. Right? Like you don't know what the distance is between these stones
that's
for
actually
you.
helpful. That's actually helpful. That's actually helpful because sometimes I find myself stuck in this, uh, assuming that I can make the leap when I need actually more stones to make the leap first. And the thing is, you get a sense of that. Like at least that's the very first part of the revelation. That it feels like you're going up a very steep hill
Hmm.
when you're trying to really force it. Or you try. It's like there's this quote in Arabic. الإنسان منه كبسة زر. Human beings are not the click of a button. So what this means is that don't confuse correlation and causation because when it works because you did something, how do you know it's because of that thing you did?
Well, it's in the Bible, right? Like follow me
Yeah.
and everything will be added onto you. Like there's
Uh-huh.
no causal relation in the
Uh-huh.
adding.
Yeah.
The adding is miraculous appearance, not causality.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so
Adding is not.
if you relate to that as causal, you end up in big trouble,
Yes, you do. You do. You get stuck.
right? And you start pushing people in that place.
You start pushing people. You
Right,
start
like
bumping into people very
because you
often.
think it works that way, and you're like, why aren't you doing that it that way?
Ah,
And you push yourself too, right? Like, oh,
you
I did it
become a
once.
fanatic. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Exactly.
like
That's
I
so
did it
true.
once. Why can't I do it again? Because you didn't.
Exactly. It's like you're describing me. Yeah, exactly. Pretty much so. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You start thinking that it's a click of a button.
It's the word.
Yeah,
It's the magic word.
it's the magic word. Becomes like magic. Yeah, if I do this XYZ, it'll appear in front of me.
Right.
That
That's
puts a lot of
procedural
pressure off.
thinking, right?
Yeah, it's procedural thinking. Exactly. It puts a lot of pressure off. By the way,
Yeah. My yoke is light.
my yoke is light. Yeah.
Doesn't mean that the cross isn't heavy, but the yoke isn't.
No, I mean the heavy cross. That's fine. That's fine. As long as that's all I have to do, bearing the cross, then I'm fine. Because that's heavy enough.
Right.
Yeah. I'm finding this difficult to relate to. It's like, so now there's this version of you in my head, like being really mean, and I'm like taking it very, very personally. And
Ah.
ah, and I'm trying not to react emotionally to it, and it's a bit difficult to concentrate on
Do it.
both.
Let's do an experiment. Let the insane run the asylum. Go.
Oh no, no, I can't do that. I'm
No, no, I
too
want
too
to.
much of a good boy to do that.
No, but maybe you have to. Like maybe you actually have to.
I can't. I'm not comfortable doing that online. But
But the point that I'm making is like when you say I don't have enough cognitive capacity,
hmm,
right? And I'm hearing you say this, and I'm like, yeah, duh. It's like if you're doing all of that stuff, like I'm just sitting there, like, when is he gonna use words so that I can respond to the words? Like that's literally my brain. Like there's just
uh-huh.
You're like, we're fighting demons and
Yeah, I mean, they're still here. They're even more agitated now.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It helps to talk about it this way. They're very agitated right now. They're like, he's making fun of you. Like you should do something
Well,
about
I'm
that.
making fun of the demons. Why are you co-identifying with the demons?
Yeah, you're right. I shouldn't be co-identifying with demons. But now there's
You
a
should
demon
make fun
saying,
of them
"You're
too.
co-identifying with the demons." He's making fun of you.
Is but that's hermeneutics of suspicion, right? It's like you can always say like, oh, like that applies to me because it involves me. It's like, yeah, duh. Like obviously you're involved, but also like you can just repent. Like that's an option. It's like, oh yeah, that was stupid. Like don't do that. Yeah, like now life is better.
I'll tell you why it doesn't work. Let me listen a second. Because it's not as simple as that, no. At least for what's what I've experienced is that when something so this is the narrative that sort of goes on in my head. You did something stupid and it was noticed and acknowledged by somebody outside of you. Therefore, this means two things. You are stupid and people think you're stupid and therefore you're doomed.
Okay.
I think this is why it's not as simple. So
Okay.
repenting,
Okay. So shall I try and reveal something to you? We're gonna do
yeah, yeah, go ahead.
the embodiment of the logos, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So there's a place
Mm.
where you can recognize that there's a narrative, and you can say, I don't want narratives.
That was like magic right now for a second. There's a lot of agitation. So when I jump, I'm switching between two states now. Like I jump where I'm just in the present and we're just having this conversation, not thinking of tomorrow, not thinking of yesterday. But then this fiery thing comes out. It's like,
Hmm.
no, you need. He's insulting you, and you need to defend yourself.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's hello, Satan.
It
Yeah,
helps to laugh at it, right?
yeah, like
Yeah.
what else is there to say? It's like, okay, you can participate in communion, or you can separate yourself. Like, yes, that's good and evil. Like, you get to choose. Like, it's literally no more difficult. And so, like, what do you have to do? Well, you have to train your muscle. Like, I want to live in the good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like this narrative stuff, there's no good in there. Just all in the trash bin. All of it. You think you get control over the world? No, that's how the world or Satan gets control over you. Like there's no control in there. Like it's just fantasy there. Like
So
it might be accurate fantasy in some frame, right? Which might be useful sometimes, but also fantasy. Like you still have to live it out. You still have to take the step to the new stone. Like the stone is going to tell you whether it's there or not. And you can fantasize about it all you want and be right or wrong all you want. Doesn't matter. Like still going to have to step on that stone.
you have to know what's happening right now. It's like I'm switching between listening to you without a narrative, and then something is dragging me back into the narrative, and
Yeah.
then I'm jumping out, listening to you, and I'm jumping back. There's a bit of a push up going on right there.
Well, that's where you pray, right? You're like, okay,
Yeah.
like I can't fight this fight. Like this is not my fight. Like I need help. That's what you pray for.
Hmm.
That's where you
Hmm.
get the Holy Spirit.
That's a moment of self determination, basically.
Yes, you get your self determination by turning to the Holy Spirit. Yes,
Yes, yes. By
yes,
turning to God. Yeah.
right. And you keep praying, And like at a certain point, you grow, or God grows within you.
Yeah.
Both will happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you mature,
Yeah.
right? And like and the more you are in the participation, right? Like, because like if we're like, okay, this is why eyes to see was for me never difficult, or maybe not,
Mm-hmm.
never is too big of a word, but recently not difficult, right? Because I learned that trick, right? So like when I'm not in my thoughts, I can see. I can see
Yes.
things.
Yes. Yes.
I
Yes.
have cognitive capacity to look at things.
Yes. 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 Absolutely.
Like if I'm caught in this fear, blah 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 stuff, like duh, I can't see shit because I can only see what Satan is showing me effectively, right? Like, oh, my anxiety this, my anxiety that. It's like, well, yeah, but also like I don't care. Like even
Mm-hmm.
if it's true, I don't care because I don't want it. Like I don't want it. It's not my portion.
It's not my work, you mean?
No, it's not my portion. Like this is not what God like.
I'm
I,
entitled to it.
I was in church and they
Mhm.
were talking about I don't know like they're doing this professing right like this and that and that and it's like yeah there's something fundamentally right like God has given me things
Mm-hmm.
and they've been obscured or refused to me by Satan
Mm-hmm.
but they're mine like they're already mine like I've I have ownership over them I just don't have access they're promised and I don't have them like that should be my relationship because if you really know that these things are promised to you, faith is easy
Mm-hmm.
because it's like it's already mine. Like you just have to take it instead of like, oh, look, do I can I reach for it? Like, no, like it's already mine. And the only thing that's wrong is that like there's some wacky force that's just trying to find every which way to not have me go there.
Can you give me a practical example?
Well, healing.
Mm-hmm.
I am already healed, right? Like I have this. Um, well, this is what they say, what Christ already won, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have this whole side of my body that's like not functioning correctly in relationship to my brain, and
Mm-hmm.
therefore having tension. No, I. What is the relationship that I have to that side of my body? Am I looking at it as oh, like now it's doing weird things again, or is it like no, it's mine? You are mine, like a wild horse. Like you're my horse. Like I just have to ride you. Like, but when I've ridden you, you'll know, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like I own you, horse. Like you might not accept that, but like I own you. Like that's already true. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like it's a
Right.
relationship with
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
future
yeah. I get it.
potential.
I get it. I get it. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now I get it. Now I get it. Let me try to find a similar example to make sure I have the I I'm on the same through line as you. So the example that's coming to mind right now is no, no, that's not such a good one. More like when I have this depressive resistance to doing something, it's like I know this is what I need to do right now, like clean your room or take a shower or whatever.
No, it's not right now. The shower will be taken. The room will be cleaned. Like that's going to happen.
Uh-huh.
Like it's a given.
Interesting. That sounds like law of attraction a lot. Like believe you already have it. No?
Yeah,
That's
but
how
but
you
yeah,
manifest.
but you have to, yes. But then the question is, what do you believe in, right? Because like if you believe in the wrong thing or in the wrong way, then right, and then it's like okay, like for example, like with with my arm or whatever, like I need to organize the armies of my mind to conquer the territory in the name of Christ, right? Like that all needs to happen, right? Like that hasn't occurred yet because like it's not in my dominion yet. But that doesn't mean that like this is the way that I see Israel conquering the promised land. It's like they all fled.
Hmm.
Like why did they flee? Because God promised the land to the Israelites. Like that's why they conquered. They didn't conquer because of their strength or whatever. They 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 weren't. Like that's why they didn't even dare to go in at the start. They're like, no, like it's too scary. Because like there's big guys there. Like we suck.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting stuff. It's like there are things which are yours by the promise of God, and that's what you need
Right,
to believe in.
right. And also, like what did the Israelites need to do? Like they needed to burn all the worshipy thingies and all the things when they went into the land, right? So you get to keep some stuff, but you don't get to keep some other stuff,
Hmm.
right? Because like what do you get to keep? Well, I get to keep my arm. I don't get to keep its relationship that's dysfunctional and the things that go along with that. Like I need to get rid of those because if I keep them, I will re-invite the dysfunction into my body.
It's like a
Like
spirit.
right, like what happened to the Israelites? They didn't listen to God. They didn't get rid of all the bad stuff,
Hmm.
and then the bad stuff started taking possession of them again, and they turned away from God.
Hmm.
It's like it's that simple. Like you want the new, you need to get rid of the old.
Hmm. You
And
need to shed
if
your
you
skin.
yeah,
And that getting rid of the old is stepping outside of the ego. Or it's a case of that.
yeah, but that's technically what happens. But also no,
Right.
like I
Because
think
because
that
it's not something you can do.
right, and it's also not the thing that is important.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or that's the important part, right? Like if you're focusing on the thing that's not important, like what will happen? Well,
Ah. Mm. You'll try to do something which is not yours to do.
right, which
Mm. It's very difficult for somebody to understand this conversation if they haven't had these experiences before.
no, you can't. No, it's not difficult. It's impossible.
It's supposed
No, for real.
they'll need to reflect on it and have some
No,
associations. But yeah,
no, no, no,
no, no,
no. Like
no,
what I said,
no.
right? There's 5,000 stones in between. They can't.
There's 5,000 stones in between.
They have to walk the 5,000 stones. Like they
They
can't.
have to have the experience. Yeah.
Like everything that they're doing that's not walking the 5,000 stones is the thing that will make them not understand the conversation.
Oof. There are 5,000 stones between us,
Maybe. Who knows?
between your world and mine.
I get more and more aware of when the steps that people can't make,
Hmm.
right? And like, yeah, like I don't know how many steps there are. Like like I the conversation that I'm uploading before this one, I talked to a guy, and at the end, he agreed with everything I said and said that my position was better, and he still didn't want to adopt it.
Hmm.
And I'm like, I I don't understand. Where's this stone? There's no stone missing. right?
Mm.
And it's still like he's still not walking the path. Like what's going on?
I I get that. I understand it, and I think so. I'm gonna start speaking my mind here. I think you're on a very high level sometimes that you lose touch with the earth. So he saw your perspective. Everything you said made sense to him, but it wasn't viable. It wasn't something he could apply right now. So he had to reject it.
Hmm.
And I've done that
Well,
before.
no, no, that's not true. Like this is where I'm like, no. Like this is where you go on your knees and pray. Like you don't reject. You go on your knees and you're like, holy cow, there's something, and I need to get there. Please get me there.
It's not that simple. He needs to do it with his own freedom. He
Yeah,
needs to
yeah, yeah.
recognize that. He needs to insightfully see that. Because my
Yeah.
assumption, my first of all, he has to want that. He has to desire it. If he is not ready, like there has to be a part of him, something within him, a spirit within him that's growing. God knows if there's a seed inside him that is going to grow into that desire where he turns.
I
That's
hope
up to
so.
God and that's with God.
Well, the seed is definitely there.
The seed is definitely there because he sees something in it.
Yeah,
You don't know when he's going to turn.
right.
So, but since he's maybe caught up in all of that, whatever it is, like I'm caught up in many things as well, it's going to take time to shed the skin, for the skin to shed.
Yeah, no, no, no.
And
I get
yeah,
it, right?
yeah.
Like I get that you can't do ooh naked, right? Like
Yeah, exactly. You can't just jump and yeah, it's I tried it. I tried it. I shouldn't be saying this. I tried it. It was a bad idea.
yeah.
Like
No, I
I was
understand.
that
Well,
innocent.
that's
I
what
was
drugs do, right? Like, oh, you just oh, I'm naked, cool. But also like, oh, I'm
LSD and
naked.
stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like let's just take out all the clothes all at once, right? Yeah. No.
No, no, yeah, I know I'm way too high, man. Which is yeah. It's a
the,
lonely place.
it's a very lonely place, and I don't know if it's good for you. So
Uh,
because you need to like Christ died on the cross, right? He came down. And I think you also need to
yeah.
have the courage to come. Now, I'm who am I to give you advice, right? Who am I to give you advice?
I don't think he came down, but yeah, he
Okay,
lowered himself, but I don't think he
lowered
came
himself.
down.
There you go. He lowered himself. He lowered himself.
No, yeah,
And
like I get it, right? Like you need to
mm,
lower yourself, but at a certain point, it's pearls before swine, right? Like I
sorry,
can't. At a certain point, it's pearls before swine. Like I can't lower myself so much that like I'm putting
yeah,
myself.
absolutely. No, no, I agree with that fully, because
Like I just need to find a like a waypoint on the mountain where.
yes, yes. Just like going up needs to be done slowly, going down also needs to be done slowly. This is something I fully agree with.
Well, yeah, maybe not the going down. Like there's just
Mm.
you can live on the mountain, right? There's just less people there. Like that's
Yeah, that's definitely the case. That's definitely the case. But I don't know. There's a quote from a Lebanese poet. Your ears long to hear the sound of your heart's knowledge. What do you
mm,
make of this? You know what I mean? Your eyes long to see the light of your heart's knowledge. Your ears long to hear the music of your heart's knowledge. Gibran Khalil Gibran. He's Christian. Well, kind of a Christian perennialist, but that
no, I think the heart is that which puts you in something, right? Like it puts you embedded. Like your heart is your embedment. Where your heart is, like everything else will go to, right? It's like
I like that. Yeah, I like that. Your
yeah, I
embeddedness.
like that. I like
Would you
that too.
call it
Yeah.
nous? Your
I
heart?
don't like that word.
Okay, forget it. Forget it.
No, also no.
But embeddedness is an interesting way of looking at it. I've never looked at it that way.
No, I think it's actually super distinct from nous.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because well, or I'm misunderstanding Platonism. That's
I
also
mean,
possible.
nous is your capacity to see the whole. That's what I understand. The wholeness
Yeah,
that we
but
talked about.
the heart has nothing to do with the whole.
Ah, okay.
Like it has to do with passion, with love, right? Like
I think we're
you
talking about two different things because I'm talking about the Islamic heart,
okay.
the heart from the Islamic
Uh,
perspective. But yeah,
I was gonna make a really bad joke, and I'm still
yeah,
gonna make it.
yeah. Okay.
That's why they don't have a heart. No, but for real, like
Yeah,
that could actually be true. Like if you put your intelligibility in your heart,
yeah.
like that's mind over heart.
Oh no, 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 no. That's yeah, yeah, yeah. But wait, 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 wait. Huh?
Do you get it?
If
Like
you
like
put your intelligibility over your heart, that's mind over heart.
right. Like I'm using the Christian version of heart there, right? So
Yeah,
like if
and
you,
what word?
if you think your heart is that your news, right? That which can grab the heavens or that what you relate to heaven
Mm-hmm.
with,
Mm-hmm.
like, and you actually don't, right? Like you relate to heart with love, right? And that can draw you to heaven.
Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
Then it's not the heaven, right? Like the heart is of the flesh in some sense,
Mm.
and it like it relates to the telos, it relates to your purpose,
Mm-hmm.
because that's
Mm-hmm.
the way I look at the heart, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the heart is wanting. The one thing is not ising,
Mm.
right? Like the one thing has to do with hope, right? It's the
Mm.
reaching for the hope, and the hope is not the same as intelligibility because like it's actually the assumption that there's something at the end of the path in the fog. Because like why would you even walk the path? And yes, that relates to the whole. Like
Okay.
definitely.
Okay. Like it's a bit. I'm getting this image that the heart is like a compass or a bullseye or something like that. It's not the
It's the
whole.
orientation,
The
right? It's
orientation. Oh, yes, 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 yes. Your heart is your orientation. You put
right, and
it's where your heart is. Yeah.
you aim for the next stone, right? And like what do you
Mm.
aim with? Well, like you aim with your cognitive abilities, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're like, oh, that's a stone, that's not a stone, right? Like that's where you get into the binary mode, like
Mm-hmm.
if
Mm-hmm.
you're uncertain at least, right? Like because you can also do that with fate, right? But like you can't do the binary mode in the orientation. That doesn't make any sense. Like the paths aren't straight. Like that's where you get into craziness.
Yeah, that's where I get into confusion as well, because I have that a lot, like the straight path, straight lines, don't move left and right, the button.
Yes,
You know what
exactly.
I mean, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But that
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's what a train is. But
Mm. That's what a
like,
train is. Yeah, bulldozer.
but a train goes straight, right? Like it follows a track, but the track is moving.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Then it's chaos. Chaos is
No,
the
no, no. But that's how you get around obstacles. But like, why is the
yeah.
track moving? Because someone moved it for the train.
Mm.
And that is like when you go with a train. Like, do you remember where you went?
Mm-hmm.
No. Like I had this experience when like I went on cycling vacations with my
Mm-hmm.
parents, and like at a certain point I was like I just cycled the whole day and I don't know what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And you know why? Because
Why?
my dad was navigating and I had the headphones on,
Mm-hmm.
and like things just passed.
Mm.
They had no meaning, they had no significance, I had no relationship to them.
Yes, 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 yes,
So
yes.
like how do I get a relationship to what's around me? By participating with it.
Yeah.
Like if I go count the sheep, like I have a stupid relationship, but I still have a relationship.
You
I'll
engage with
remember.
it. You
Yeah.
engage with it. You engage with it. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
if I'm just pushing my pedals. Like I still struggle with this, right? Like this is just some pattern that's ingrained real deep in me, and I think that's what autism is. Like literally, right? Like autism is you disembed yourself
Mm,
within that what you're contained in because
mm,
you're dealing with stuff inside of your head effectively, right? And like it doesn't matter what the stuff is inside of your head. What matters is that it takes you away. And
mm-hmm,
and because you're away, you're not receiving all of the signals and now you can't develop properly.
mm-hmm.
And you're just screwed. Because like if you don't correct this properly at like early ages, you can't develop
Yeah,
the
yeah,
participatory,
yeah.
and now you're participatorily handicapped, literally.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
that's kind of what I'm dealing with when I'm on my bicycle. Like I'm participatorily handicapped in my default participation.
Right, right.
And then I have to put in extra energy to have a different relationship that like I have the capacity to do, but
Yes,
like
yes.
it's hard.
It's very hard. It's hard for you to engage with your environment naturally. You have to put more effort than others in order to get yourself out of your head and into the world. I have that same problem. I have that same exact problem. I remember that moment in Jordan, exactly the same thing happened. I was seeing the Holy Land in front of me in Jordan. There's a place in Jordan where you can see Israel right from Jordan. I was seeing it and I was feeling nothing. I was feeling
I
nothing.
had
It's
that
like
with the Taj Mahal, not the same thing. Yeah.
same thing, yeah. And it's like okay, there's this amazing thing inside of you, and I felt nothing. So I started to pray. I started to say what Moses said. I started to pray, and that sort of got me engaged with the situation. It got me
Hmm.
to feel that okay, the significance of this is that somebody said these very same words I said billions of thousands of years ago. So me too. I also need to actively, and the problem is that my mind began to notice that I'm trying to engage in the environment. It's like shit, no, hell no, you're not gonna do that. And
Yep.
then it starts. Yeah.
Well, yeah, just imagine that like 1,000 times worse, right? And that's me and
Yeah,
my
it sucks.
depression,
It
right?
really
Like
sucks. Really
like it's like
sucks.
you just try to get yourself out and it's like poof, and you try again, poof, and then you're tired. It's
Yeah, and
like
then you're
okay,
exactly, and then you're tired, and then you're exhausted. It's like there's a rubber wall between you and reality. It
yeah,
sucks. It really sucks. It's exhausting. It's absolutely exhausting.
yeah. It's like you're stuck in jelly. It's like
Yes,
you
yes,
turn your
thank
head,
you.
it's just not back.
Yes, exactly. It's dude, I use very similar terminology. It's like there's a rubber wall in front of me. It's like right?
But yeah, like maybe you're trying to take too many steps. Well,
Yeah,
not
I
maybe,
think I am
definitely.
too. Definitely, definitely I'm trying to take too many steps. I
Right,
also
and
like
that's
what
that's related with expectation again, right?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I was yesterday having a talk with some of my friends. We were discussing like something like resilience or something like that. And they noticed that when I was talking and the other person was talking, I would change my mind very quickly. When they would say something, it's like, yeah,
Mhm.
forget everything you believe and take up what they're saying. And according to them, that might be why I have so many problems with change because I take so many steps too quickly. So instead of letting the ideas from the other person integrate step by step, I just throw everything and I leap. I
Yeah,
jump the
no,
gun.
but I don't think you are.
You
I
don't
think you're
think I
doing
am?
something else. I think you're actually pleasing them.
That's a good observation. Wait, let me think if I'm actually. No, 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 no. Um, I'm maybe on a subconscious level, but at least consciously, the way I see it,
Well, why
it's
would they have a valid perspective? Like, okay, then you're taking them too seriously. Like,
exactly that can be the case. That can be the case. I have that tendency to idealize people.
but
That
but that but then you're pleasing them.
no, I'm not pleasing them because
If
I
you
see
if
them as
you
an authority from God. I'm pleasing God. I am
mm,
pleasing someone. There's definitely pleasing happening. But the point
yeah,
is that I
and
project on
it's
them that
not
there's some
yourself.
authority figure from God. Huh?
You're not pleasing yourself.
I am pleasing myself. Yes, I'm pleasing myself.
You are okay.
Well, I'm pleasing a part of myself, a part of myself that
A part of
will not be
yourself. You
pleased
mean
unless
you mean
everybody is
Satan?
pleased.
Yeah, yeah, but like, yeah, but that's where you need to get rid of. Like, and like when you're like you're having this fight in your head, right?
Yeah,
With imaginary me, right?
yeah.
I'm like, do you really think I care?
That's the thing. It's not you who cares, and it's
Okay, but
it's
then
because the imaginary you, like the imaginary situation, is a bit more complicated than that. Imaginary you, imaginary you.
you're not making it better. Okay, like,
I'm just telling you what's going on, right? That this is what we're
okay,
supposed to do. Transparency. Like imaginary you is standing in for God, and if I don't listen to imaginary you, imaginary God will hate me.
okay, but like, who cares about imaginary God?
But I mean, what if he's true? What if imaginary God is real?
Well, then he'll tell you. Like, who cares?
So yeah, he'll tell me. What if he's
It's
telling me?
like,
What if
like
he's
for
telling
real.
me?
Like,
What if he's telling me by you through you?
he's definitely telling you something, but I don't think that's what he's telling you.
How do you know that? How are you sure about that? I'm just letting the crazy, by the way, talk. I'm just letting it free
How
right now. You're dealing with my demons right now. Because
well, okay. Like,
yeah,
let's assume that I see God, right?
yeah.
And I'm actually not reinforcing your narrative. Like, that
Hmm.
would be a good suggestion that it's not God telling
Uh huh.
you.
Yeah, I had that thought before, but but the voices in my head were like, no, fuck you.
It's like, like for real. Like, if I'm an authority, like, can't you just at least accept me as an authority instead of like, if I say no, that's stupid, can you accept that it's stupid? Like, if I tell you don't listen to the voices in your head, can you accept that you shouldn't listen to the voices in your head? Or is that
No,
not part of my authority?
it's extremely hard, man.
No, but do
It's extremely hard.
you get the point, right? It's
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. I get the point. I was going through it a few minutes ago. I know what you mean.
yeah,
It's like, wait
you
a minute. Why am I believing
selectively
this and not that? Yeah,
exactly, you're
yeah, yeah.
selectively
Selectively. Yeah,
relating
yeah, yeah.
to
That's
an
true.
authority that you see in me, and that's
Yeah,
projection. And that's
yeah,
why
yeah.
it's evil.
Absolutely, absolutely
Like, the
projection.
fact that you make a selection, right? And you make it, right?
Well,
That's
it's
the
kind of
problem.
being made for me, to be honest.
Well,
But
okay,
yeah, I'm
fine,
allowing
right?
it to be made for me. I'm allowing the selection to be made for me.
Well, you
That's what I can say.
participated in it. You
Yeah,
embrace it. Like,
yeah.
you I'm just gonna say you get off on it in a certain way. It's like, oh, look, I know this. Like, let's do more of this because I know this.
No, I'll correct you. To be more adequate, I am soothed by obeying it because
Right.
I have this orientation to soothe. So this is something I recognized not too long ago, and it helps with revelation actually. I am very much always oriented towards self-soothing rather than truth. And yes, exactly.
but
I
but but
I'm gonna go to
social.
Amsterdam and punch you in the face for that, but yeah, exactly.
I'm not in Amsterdam, so you can
Sorry,
try.
it's a damn whatever, wherever you are, Netherlands. Yeah,
but but that's the social peacemaking as well, right?
yeah,
That's you
yeah.
just I don't want to be in
It's a
whatever.
social peacemaking that's making itself to be God, probably.
What is the second part?
It's a social. It's how do I explain this? It's people pleasing projected onto God.
Yeah, but everybody does that on
Yeah.
some level, right? Like, when you please people, you do that because it's good, or whatever, right?
Hmm.
Or it's good to them. Like there's always a good, like
There is
that's
always a
being
good.
unveiled,
It's a lesser good, not a greater good.
right? Like,
Hmm.
and it's perverted. Like, that's the
Corrupt.
recognition. Yeah, but the good is perverted, right?
Yeah. Sure.
And so you have to recognize that, and
Hmm.
that's the basis for rejection. Like when I say, and you need to reflect on this part, right? There's a place where you cannot go into the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
That's the place where you need to make decisions. Because if you're in the narrative, you already lost.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So you just have to full on reject it, and then you have to have faith. Like how do you reject the narrative? By knowing that whatever's going to be come after is going to be better.
We need to walk through this, but we need to do it in a separate call because I'm gonna need to go through, and that's already been a lot. But I'm serious. This is something I need you to elaborate on, because whenever you say you have to have faith and trust that something is gonna be better, I don't know what to do. So what happens? There's this
There's
narrative.
nothing to do. There's
There's this narrative.
literally there's nothing. Like that's like that's oh, you don't see the stone in front of you. Yes, you don't. Like
Uh-huh.
yes, you're at the place where you don't see the next stone. Yes. Okay. So what?
Acknowledge that.
Like yes, you're at that place. Like there's still a stone. Like just go to the next stone.
Yeah, I relate to that. I can relate to
And
that.
it's like, well, I agree with you, but I'm not going to do it. And then I'm in the same situation as in the next the previous conversation. But also like, yeah, that's where you get on your knees. That's where you ask for help. Like, give me the courage.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let relieve me of my stupidity. Relieve me
That
of
I like. Yeah, that
my
works.
anxiety to get into crazy narratives that don't serve me or don't serve you. Like even better. like
Yeah.
like that's the prayer that you need to do. And like
Yeah.
yeah, I just came up with a bunch of stuff that I need to work on, but like I know it sucks. Like I know I need to work on these things and I'm not, right? But also like I know that I need to work on them and I just reminded myself. So like
Yeah.
that's kind of
Yeah.
working on them
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
somewhat.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I'm in the same
And
situation.
and that's just what you need to do is that yes, I I'm I'm a sinner. Okay?
Mhm.
Forgive me. Like I know.
Mm, mm, mm.
Go easy. Some mercy, please.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So yeah, let's let's close it down, and then we have that
Let's
one
close it
noted
down.
for next time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's your conclusion?
So that I'm a genius.
Yeah. Good.
No, I mean, let me formulate a conclusion for this.
Okay. That I'm an idiot.
That makes you an idiot too, by the way.
Okay. Okay. Because I'm inside you. Yeah. Yeah. I get it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh, that's genius. Oh.
yeah. Ah. Keep cultivating that place where you're peeking your head outside of the narrative and
That's
wait
heaven.
and wait.
That's heaven. Like for real, bro. Like that's
Hmm.
heaven.
Hmm.
Like that place where the names come from.
Hmm.
That's heaven.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
And well, since you recognize it, now you can just call for it. Like
Yep.
that's what you should do, right? Like every
Yep.
time you sink down, you ask, please God, take me back.
I've been trying to do it myself. I think maybe that was my mistake.
Yeah. And in order to get back, you need to forgive, right? Like maybe that's like you need to forgive all of this narrative stuff.
Hmm.
You need to forgive me for whatever, calling you an idiot. You need to forgive me for being an arrogant prick. You need to forgive me for knowing things better than you. Like you need to forgive yourself for not knowing things. Like you need to do all these things because if you
Yeah.
don't, they keep dragging you back.
They keep dragging you back. Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of steps to take. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's a good point. That's an excellent point right there. Yeah, that
You should
helps.
read my article on the Lord's Prayer. Like that's
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
help
yeah.
you too.
I'll check it out.
Well,
That's the police. Yeah.
and since we have an emergency, we will do an emergency landing of the conversation. I think this was fruitful.
Yeah,
I
I was
think
first.
we went through some nice territory, and
Hmm.
I am really pleased with opening up with this image. That was really serving us well.
Good.
Okay, see y'all next time.